OCR findings ignored. Newsrooms silent. But CAIR always on camera. For years, CAIR has turned civil rights complaints into televised spectacle. Lawsuits make headlines long before facts are established. Behind the press conferences are documents that tell another story. Repeated findings of no wrongdoing and petty complaints, sometimes with little or no evidence. Yet the cycle repeats. Another Title VI complaint, another round of cameras, another chance to claim victimhood. CAIR's lawsuits make headlines. The results, not so much.
Happening today, a local civil rights and advocacy group plans to sue two enforcement agencies over last year's student protests at UCLA. The Council on American Islamic Relations is set to announce this morning that it's filing a lawsuit against the CHP and the LAPD. Civil rights advocates say the officers used excessive force last May on the pro-Palestinian demonstrators protesting against the Israel-Hamas war. They say the alleged violence caused serious wounds, including head injuries and broken bones.
New at 3, a new lawsuit against the California Highway Patrol and Los Angeles Police Department for the way the agencies allegedly handled last year's pro-Palestinian protests on the UCLA campus. Several attorneys and the Council on American Islamic Relations held a press conference saying both departments used excessive force when trying to break up a pro-Palestinian encampment.
The footage from that night is undeniable. The bruises, the injuries, and the trauma are undeniable.
CAIR claims police used excessive force, yet this video segment shows confrontations between protesters and police. CAIR also admits critical information such as the protesters' defiance of dispersal orders and illegal occupation of campus property, including the takeover of Dodd Hall.
After they dismantled that other pro-Palestinian encampment back on May 2nd and arrested more than 200 people very close to here in the Royce Quad area. Rachel, I also want to get to that statement here, that came just a short time ago from the Administrative Vice Chancellor's office and also the Chancellor for Campus Safety, saying that they have withdrawn the consent to remain on campus for these demonstrators at Kirchhoff. So, they've kind of pushed them off the Kirchhoff patio, asking them to disperse as they moved over here to Murphy Hall. But the statement goes on to say there is reasonable cause to find that the demonstrators' activities, including erecting those barricades earlier, establishing fortifications, blocking access to parts of the campus and buildings, they are disrupting the campus operations. So they've asked those demonstrators to disperse. They've just kind of moved on. They have been informed, though, that if they do not disperse, if they, again, form any kind of blockade, if they disrupt any kind of campus activities, that they will face arrest. That is the warning from the Chancellor, the Vice Chancellor's office. No, they've opened the doors, so they're waving people in. They're saying, come on into Dodd Hall, and that's not what these officers in the campus security wants them to do, obviously, and block any kind of entrance and make their...
This is all happening. So this is the UCLA campus. We're going to start here, down here in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. That's Kirchhoff, where the patio was right there, where they were barricaded. Then these protesters moved up along here and ended up here at Murphy Hall, and now have moved just to the north, and Dodd Hall is here. But I want to bring everybody's attention to this part, right in the center of your map. This area is where Royce Quad was, where on May 2nd, that large encampment. We are very close to that. It is simply a stone's throw away from where the protest is now. I'm going to zoom in and show you. This is what we're looking at here, this white building in the center screen. That's Dodd Hall. And as I turn around and move the map over, right there, what we're looking at here in the center, that's where the Royce Quad was. So these students very close to where that giant encampment was just about 3 weeks ago, as they continue to sort of...
Yeah, so we've made our way here to the front of Dodd Hall. You can see that these protesters are locking the door. They're not letting anyone else in, so they've essentially locked themselves inside. They were motioning for other students, other fellow protesters to get in, and now they're just holding the door. So I'm not sure what's going to be happening here as the chanting...
And violently attacked by law enforcement. It's about holding law enforcement accountable when they treat dissent as a crime and inflict violence onto those dissenting voices.
This is just one of many lawsuits coming out of the April 2024 pro-Palestinian protests on campus. Groups have also sued UCLA and the UC system over the law enforcement response.
Meritless lawsuits like this just for publicity. I mean, this is just absolutely ridiculous. It's a gross injustice to our to our legal system, and they are 100% completely in the wrong. And everything that I have seen on TV, on social media, law enforcement played absolutely no negative part in this, other than they waited too long. If this is a legitimate court case or trial, a legitimate judge who is non-biased, and they are able to find a jury that actually would look at evidence instead of their hatred toward law enforcement, there is absolutely no way that these officers are found guilty.
Back here in Cleveland, the Council on American Islamic Relations has now filed a federal civil rights complaint against Case Western Reserve University. The complaints allege Palestinian students were treated unfairly during the encampment on campus last spring.
Now in a Title VI complaint, CAIR is asking the U.S. Department of Education to investigate Case Western, alleging the university discriminated against Palestinian students or anyone with affiliation to Palestine, as well as Muslims and Arabs.
We tried to reach out to President CAIR several times to sit down and have a discussion with him, and he refused. The students tried, CAIR tried, and we decided that this is unfair. You know, no student should feel unwelcomed on their campus, a campus where they pay college tuition, where they come to learn and receive a well-rounded education.
In a March 20th, 2025 statement on its website, CAIR stated, the Cleveland and North Ohio office of the Council on American Islamic Relations today said it is appalled by the Trump administration's recent closure of many of the Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights regional offices. CAIR further commented, in Cleveland, the Department of Education's regional office, which housed the OCR, was closed last week as part of these cutbacks. On November 12, 2024, the Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights opened the Title VI complaint made by CAIR Ohio against Case Western Reserve University for federal investigation. However, the investigation that CAIR pursued may now face indefinite delays. CAIR's letter to the Cleveland Office of Civil Rights outlined several concerns, including claims that CWRU's president, Eric CAIR, had snubbed the Students for Justice in Palestine. CAIR stated, as a result, Palestinian students and their affiliates feel disenfranchised by CAIR and CWRU and have come to understand that Palestinian-related issues are not of any concern to CWRU. According to CAIR's letter, CWRU suspended Students for Justice in Palestine for failing to comply with the university's request to identify individuals responsible for posting hard-to-remove flyers around campus, as well as for failing to provide a list of all organization members. CAIR described this demand as despotic and inherently racist. This situation led to an encampment on Heinz Circle, better known as University Circle. University President Eric CAIR issued multiple warnings to students to disperse.
Here at Case Western, this is the site. That encampment is still in place, but you can tell there's less tents. That's because the protesters have decided to bring it to a close, but they say there is still more to come. During this week and a half, the university has allowed the students to protest as long as it stayed peaceful and told them that at any moment, anyone trespassing will face consequences. I want to make sure we reiterate one thing. This has stayed peaceful over this 11 days. And earlier today, we saw a beautiful moment. It was a Jewish student leader and a Palestinian student leader having a conversation and talking about, of course, Israel and Palestine, and they found that common ground. And they tell me they wish that more people would understand that among the students, there is no issues, and they have these conversations. They are capable of doing it. They just wish the university could also be part. So again, though this is coming to a close, students say there is still more to come.
A message scrawled on CWRU's advocacy or spirit wall elicited further reaction from CAIR.
They call for 10/7 Intifada, so we call them terrorists. The date refers to the October 7, 2023 attack on Israel by Palestinian militants. As noted, Intifada is an Arabic term that translates to a shaking off, protest, or civil uprising. Associating this term with October 7th, and then implying that Palestinian students and affiliates were terrorists, was threatening, provocative, and intimidating.
According to CAIR, the term intifada was being misused, as if the real issue is vocabulary, not the context of a massacre by Hamas. The fact that 10/7 refers to one of the bloodiest attacks on civilians in recent memory is treated as a linguistic misunderstanding rather than a brutal historical fact. By November 7th, 2024, tensions escalated further. In the early morning hours, 11 students allegedly entered Case Western Reserve University campus, split into two groups, and vandalized university property.
Well, tension from the ongoing conflict in the Middle East is spilling over locally tonight. Graffiti at a Northeast Ohio college campus today is being called anti-Semitic by Case Western Reserve University officials.
Parts of the courtyard outside Case Western Reserve University are covered in red spray paint with what the school describes as anti-Semitic language and symbols. Pictures from students on campus show red handprints on the Samuel H. Miller Plaza. We showed a video of the damage to both a Jewish and Palestinian Case student.
I think the worst thing about it is that it stopped being shocking anymore.
Adam Hamden is Palestinian and a third-year student here.
That's not my way of going about it, but I completely understand why somebody would want to do that. I have family members who have gotten, been affected, so, definitely not I could see why somebody would rationalize that. Their intentions is definitely to just be seen.
In a statement, the school said, in part, our facilities staff has been working since early this morning to clear the vandalism, repair the damage, and restore our campus. We strongly condemn the actions of these individuals and are investigating the incidents.
Developing tonight, just as Case Western Reserve University announced arrests in connection to vandalism across campus, protesters gathered outside the university's police department. Our crime and justice correspondent Lydia Sparra was there.
On the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. It was to be a peaceful protest for the most part.
Fight the power, turn the tide.
Fight the power, turn the tide. Protesters who were not all students of Case Western Reserve University were demanding answers after multiple people were arrested for vandalizing school property.
They were not given the chance to speak to lawyers. They haven't been in contact with their families.
Last Friday, students discovered parts of the courtyard covered in red spray paint. Vandalism in the form of red handprints were also seen at the Samuel H. Miller Plaza. Campus officials called the vandalism anti-Semitic in nature.
Innocent until proven guilty. That applies to everyone. I don't know why they're sending kids to jail before they have more information.
A news release was sent out from the administration stating multiple individuals were arrested on felony charges in connection with the vandalism of buildings, structures, and artwork across our campus overnight on November 8th. These individuals have been transferred to the Cuyahoga County Jail, where they are afforded full legal rights, including access to counsel. The statement does not address whether those arrested were students. Even so, the protest continued.
Case Western University estimated the damage at $400,000. Local news reported that 11 individuals were arrested on November 11th, 2024, and charged with various offenses, including possessing criminal tools, breaking and entering, vandalism, telecommunications harassment for repeatedly contacting a university dean. CAIR's July 22, 2024 complaint against Case Western Reserve University characterized students as persecuted, but university officials viewed the actions as unlawful disruption rather than protected speech. CAIR's Title VI complaint against Rutgers University received a response from the Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights. CAIR stated on social media that the OCR letter concluded the university likely operated a hostile environment for Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim students. This followed a complaint filed by CAIR New Jersey. It highlights the urgent need for inclusive campus environments. However, the full OCR statement clarifies the existence of a likely hostile environment based on national origin, including shared Jewish, Israeli, Palestinian, Arab, Muslim, and/or South Asian ancestry in association with these national origins and shared ancestries. This language reflects a technical definition rather than an indictment of Rutgers University's policies. The OCR determined that Rutgers must conduct a more comprehensive investigation to ensure compliance with civil rights obligations. During the OCR's investigation, Rutgers provided 104 reports of alleged Jewish or Israeli-based discrimination and harassment during the 2022, 2023, and 2023-2024 academic years. The OCR noted that the university
permitted certain protests, including tent encampments, to continue on campus in April and May 2024, even though they violated university policy, and had the effect of disrupting Jewish students taking final examinations, requiring certain final examinations to be postponed or moved to quieter alternate locations, and blocking Jewish students from entering certain campus areas where encampments were set up.
At Rutgers, Jewish students sought to attend classes and complete exams, while pro-Palestinian activists staged disruptive protests. The urgency CAIR describes is not reflected in OCR's response, which primarily calls for Rutgers to improve procedural compliance rather than address a specific crisis. CAIR's claim of an urgent need might suggest that pro-Palestinian students feel unsafe speaking out. However, at Rutgers, these students openly protested, even shouting down university president Jonathan Holloway, who ultimately left under police escort.
Rutgers to a great extent. What impact did you hope to have through your message? Guys, please don't disrupt while people are talking. Thank you.
So when, as I said in the email to the community on Monday, I had been receiving, well, to be a little more detailed, I received, I don't know how many different emails calling on me to stop the referendum from happening in the first place. To stop the referendum from happening in the first place, which I thought was deeply inappropriate. Everybody has the right to vote, okay? And then after the vote was taken, knowing that I'd be coming here and knowing that the tallying of the vote would take maybe until today or tomorrow, unless there was an appeal, and knowing how tortured the campus had been in the 2 weeks leading up to the Thursday deadline, with all kinds of disruptions related to and harassment related to the vote, I thought it important to just share my views about issues on the referendum. It is not, I didn't want to sully the vote itself. I don't know how the vote is going to turn out, but I felt it was that the campus deserved clarity, and I offered clarity.
Clarity that you support genocide?
And so that is why I sent the email to the community.
Answer the question. Isn't this a Q&A? That's student governance.
And that is why I sent the message to the community. And then also because one of the two referenda questions about calling on RUSA to advocate, to take a position on BDS, and also to take a position regarding whether to keep ties to Tel Aviv University. And so in that email, I made clear what my view was on BDS, and then also made and I made clear my view on and I made my and I made my clear on Tel Aviv University and the fact that we're not separating relationships.
CAIR's filing of a Title VI complaint with Emory University brought forth headlines like this that might make the reader think that something criminal happened. But it says right on the first page of the OCR's agreement with Emory that the university has done nothing wrong.
The U.S. government is now investigating Emory University for alleged discrimination against Muslims on campus.
The Federal Education Department is looking into claims outlined in a Title VI complaint filed at the beginning of April before campus protests began. 11 Live's Brittany Kleinpeter is back on Emory's campus tonight. So, Brittany, what is this group claiming here?
The complaint cites incidents dating all the way back to 2023, all alleging that Emory, quote, fostered a hostile environment for students of Arabic, Muslim, and Palestine heritage. It cites specific names as well as specific dates. The CAIR of Georgia says the U.S. Department of Education notified them that their 18-page Title VI complaint against Emory University for anti-Muslim discrimination was being investigated. The complaint, filed on April 5th, listed various events throughout 2023 where students felt they were being harassed on campus, including one instance in March where a student leaving a Muslim Student Association meeting says a group of men followed her, making statements about how much they, quote, loved the Israeli army and the work they have done and are doing, apparently referring to the Palestinians the army had killed so far.
Here is that incident that shows an Emory student overheard some people talking and was in tears over the genocide in Gaza. There is no genocide in Gaza. Here is another similar incident where someone overhears a conversation and becomes paranoid. In another, an Emory student goes off campus for lunch and runs into an acquaintance who makes some ill-conceived attempts at humor. None of these things seem to be the basis for a federal investigation. In fact, the OCR ignored these things and concentrated exclusively on the way police broke up the illegal pro-Palestine encampment.
The federal investigation into the school comes a week after protests turned violent on Emory's campus, resulting in 28 arrests, including both faculty, students, and non-students.
This man is resisting arrest, and police are using a taser to subdue him.
You're hurting me! You're hurting me! Ow! 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 Help! Help!
The president of the university almost lost his job over this nonsense.
Get on the ground, I said! Oh my God! You're a rabid dog! Oh my God! Give me some cops! My head! Hit that you head! You just hit my head! On the concrete! Oh my God! Oh my God! You people are fascists! You are Hitler! You are a rabid dog! Shame on you! May you never live another day! I am a professor! This is an Emory professor, everyone! I am a professor of economics! You are rabid dogs! You are fascists!
It was a peaceful protest until they started fighting troopers. I agree with you.
L-I-N! I reacted impulsively. I apologize.
No, you're right. It's right to rebel. I'm gonna share this.
Please remove the handcuffs.
Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back!
I want my purse into my black bag.
Do you want me to get a hold of John?
I want you to call John. Yes, my phone is at home.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I want you to understand. Please don't yank my arm.
I'm trying
It
to
is
guide you
really.
gently.
Can you please show the back zip ties? They refuse to listen.
Does he have a license? He has everything.
This is pulling on my hand.
I was doing nothing. I did not resist.
Do you have everything you need?
Okay. We were not resist. I barely did anything. I came.
She was
here.
interfering with a police officer making an arrest.
Cops were coming to arrest our students. And I came here and I saw a large man pinning one of our students to the ground, pressing on his neck and potentially choking him, causing life-threatening injury. And so I impulsively hit him on the head very lightly to get his attention. And they grabbed me, threw me to the ground, and arrested me.
Ridiculous incidents like this led to the D.C. Metro Police refusing to help George Washington University clear out an encampment due to concerns about optics. Apparently, only the police have to worry about bad optics.
We sent several operatives to disrupt the tour guided by Emory's employees. The operatives succeeded in provoking the appropriate response, anger and confusion. The message was simple and true. Your kids are not safe here. No student is safe. No teacher is safe. No staff member or community member is safe so long as the Emory administration continues to pursue bloodthirsty policies. What happened on Saturday was only a small peek into what is to come if you continue to refuse to do what is right.
On February 26, 2025, TV stations in the Atlanta, Georgia area reported on the latest Title VI complaint filed against the school by the Council on American-Islamic Relations. This time, it is the Fulton County Public School System that CAIR is accusing of, quote, a pattern of harassment and discrimination faced by students at the district, unquote. One of the examples of this pattern of harassment and discrimination mentioned in news reports is that of a kindergartner receiving a death threat.
One alleged incident involved a death threat against a Palestinian-American kindergartner.
What the news failed to report is that this contract hit was coming from a fellow elementary school student. CAIR is trying to counter the Title VI complaints filed by the Brandeis Center. CAIR sent a February 25, 2025 complaint to Catherine E. Lehman, Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights, U.S. Department of Education, Washington, D.C. This was done after the Brandeis Center filed their complaint against Fulton County School System on August 13, 2024.
The complaint was filed by the national nonprofit Brandeis Group to the U.S. Department of Education. It details multiple stories of anti-Semitism, including one where a student mimed shooting several Jewish classmates, another where a senior told a freshman who'd posted an Israeli flag online that he'd, quote, find him at school, and another where a fifth grade student was told by a classmate that all Jews and Israelis should be killed. It even details an account of a second grade teacher at State Bridge Crossing Elementary telling her class, which included 2 Israeli students, that the deadly conflict was Israel's fault.
And before that, on February 28, 2024, the Brandeis Center filed a Title VI complaint against Berkeley school system. This was followed by the May 9, 2024 CAIR suit against Berkeley, alleging anti-Palestinian, anti-Arab, and Islamophobic discrimination within the district.
Berkeley Unified is also facing a new separate complaint of anti-Palestinian racism. The Council on American-Islamic Relations, or CAIR, and the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee filed that federal complaint today. It alleges several instances of discrimination, harassment, and intimidation against students since the October 7th.
Not just anti-Semitism on campus. Tonight, a complaint urging an investigation into Islamophobia at the Berkeley Unified School District. The Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR, and the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee filed this complaint. It outlines instances of discrimination, harassment, and intimidation against students since the October 7th attack on Israel. It says slurs have been directed at Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim students, and the complaint says teachers who have supported these students have also been harassed. It's asking the Department of Education Office of Civil Rights to launch an investigation, and also asking Berkeley Unified to stop this behavior on campus.
Indeed, the Brandeis complaints are part of what CAIR is worried about. We also urge you to reject the requests for relief sought by the August 6, 2024 complaint filed by the Brandeis Center. The complaint asks for remedies that would suppress Palestinian identity, history, and experiences within the district, violating Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the First Amendment to the Constitution. It is hard to imagine in a sane world that this complaint from CAIR would ever get off the ground. For example, CAIR is complaining that the school system did not show enough sympathy for Hamas. CAIR uses supposed statements by the Israeli finance minister as an example of double standards, even though the finance minister has nothing to do with Fulton County school system. And students were supposedly traumatized by an IDF t-shirt. CAIR's complaint is full of biased pro-Hamas statements such as, Israel began military attacks in Gaza a mere 2 hours after Hamas infiltrated Israel, displacing and killing hundreds of innocent Palestinians. Citation for this claim is an Al Jazeera article that says right in the first line in its timeline of events that Hamas was firing rockets at Israel in the early morning hours. This was a tactic to divert attention away from the breach of the security fence. CAIR's complaint also says that the kafaya symbolizes Palestinian national identity, recognized in a unanimous 2024 U.S. Senate resolution. The citation for this is Senate Resolution 847, a resolution honoring Wadia al-Fayumi, a 6-year-old Palestinian-American boy who was murdered in a hate crime for his Palestinian Muslim identity in Illinois. This says nothing about the kafaya symbolizing Palestinian national identity. CAIR may be confusing this with the Islamic World Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization's recognition of the kafaya as a symbol of Palestinian national identity. Resolution 847 says that if one wants to express oneself by the kafaya, they shouldn't be attacked. However, the kafaya is also a symbol of anti-Jewish activities like the 1936-1939 Arab Revolt, and, of course, Hamas. Moreover, CAIR says that the kafaya is worn to show solidarity with the Palestinian freedom struggle. Freedom, in this case, is freedom from Jews. It is an anti-Jewish symbol. To paraphrase CAIR's Title VI complaint, Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim American students and their allies chose to wear kafayas and chant Free Palestine this past year to show solidarity with Hamas, who massacred hundreds of Israelis on October 7th. Social media is not the only place CAIR is misrepresenting the preliminary findings of the OCR. When a counselor at Tappan Middle School told a student that she did not negotiate with terrorists after the student asked why he could not get a drink of water, CAIR filed a Title VI complaint with the Michigan Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights. And the same pattern played out. The school entered into an agreement with the OCR to conduct an investigation along the lines provided by the office. This was widely reported as confirmation that the counselor had referred to a Muslim student as a terrorist. There never was any doubt that this offhand quip was said only of its importance. As with previous cases, no action was taken against the school, no one lost their job, and no fines were levied. The outcome was simply a matter of the school agreeing to abide by the OCR's procedures. In a statement from CAIR's Amy Ducre, lacking any self-awareness, she said, "It shouldn't have taken a civil rights complaint for this to happen." Indeed.
Federal investigators confirmed that a school counselor at Ann Arbor's Tappan Middle School referred to a Muslim student as a terrorist last year when he asked to leave her office to get a drink of water. The student's family complained to the school and the Board of Education, but were told the case was closed. That's when the Council on American Islamic Relations Michigan chapter filed a complaint with the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights.
The staff notes about this incident state that the student was disturbing class, and he was having difficulty working in class, but no formal discipline was logged for the student's underlying behavior. Although the student was supposed to be working, he went into the office of a counselor. The student asked whether the counselor had a fridge in her office, and she replied that she did. The student asked for a soda and for the counselor's personal water from the counselor's fridge. The counselor said no. According to the student's written statement from the next day, he had asked if the counselor had a drink or if he could get a drink, and she said no to both requests, and when he asked why, she replied, quote, "I am not negotiating with a terrorist," unquote. In contrast, the counselor reported that the student promised that he would be quiet if she gave him water, to which she replied, quote, "I don't negotiate with terrorists," unquote. A witness stated that she could hear what the student said, but not what the counselor said to the student, otherwise confirming the counselor's account. Even though the counselor apologized, the next day the family began to make a big deal out of it, characterizing the remark as racial. The district then conducted what they thought was a thorough investigation. At this point, CAIR got involved, claiming Tappan had a long history of discriminatory remarks against Muslims and Arabs. But there is no documentation to support claims of a history of discrimination at Tappan, only the counselor's remark. The child claimed he didn't feel safe or welcomed at school due to the ripple effect from other teachers reacting to the outing of the counselor. He was offered the possibility of changing schools, but remained. This phrase has been used in popular culture countless times for many years and has never been considered to be racist.
I quit! I don't negotiate with terrorists.
I will not negotiate with terrorists.
No, we don't negotiate with terrorists.
I don't negotiate with terrorists.
There will be no negotiations with terrorists.
We don't negotiate with terrorists.
We will not negotiate with terrorists.
We don't negotiate with terrorists.
I don't negotiate with terrorists.
Why not go get her, sir? I will not negotiate with terrorists.
We don't negotiate with terrorists, Daniel.
We do not negotiate with terrorists.
Negotiate with terrorists, Ben.
We do not negotiate with terrorists. As you are aware, we do not negotiate with terrorists.
Our city will not negotiate with terrorists.
Don't negotiate with terrorists.
Oh, really?
I don't negotiate with terrorists.
Not to negotiate with terrorists.
Negotiating with terrorists.
I don't negotiate with terrorists. Sorry, ma'am. We don't negotiate with elephants.
That's when the Council on American Islamic Relations Michigan chapter filed a complaint with the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights, which found the district was not in compliance with Title VI regulations.
It shouldn't have taken a civil rights complaint for this to have happened. It didn't need for the Office of Civil Rights to come in and say, hey, you got this wrong. It was obvious on the face of it that they got it wrong.
As part of the resolution agreement, Ann Arbor Public Schools has agreed to offer the student counseling and to conduct a climate assessment to identify any racially hostile environments in its schools.
Another example of CAIR announcing a lawsuit that doesn't appear to be serious would be CAIR's recent filing of a temporary restraining order against Columbia University.
Well, the deadline is come and gone for Columbia University to comply with the Trump administration's demands or lose millions of dollars in federal funding. As Ali Bauman reports, it comes as a judge is blocking the school from sharing student information with the government.
Thursday, a judge temporarily blocked Columbia from sharing personal information on student protesters with Congress.
Columbia University, if they turn over these records, it's like they're feeding their students into the wood chipper.
The Council on American Islamic Relations, CAIR, is suing Columbia and the Congressional Education Committee over its request that the school hand over student disciplinary records. CAIR claims Columbia already gave Congress information on Mahmoud Khalil before he was arrested by immigration agents earlier this month.
We have to protect Columbia as a free and democratic institution for ourselves now and for generations to come.
Columbia denied comment on the pending litigation and has not answered our questions about the government's demands, only saying in part that the school will engage in constructive dialogue, but will not waver from our principles and the values of academic freedom. In Morningside Heights, Ali Bauman, CBS News, New York.
The case aimed to block the university from handing over student records to Congress. However, Judge Aaron Subramanian swiftly denied the request, citing the plaintiff's failure to establish standing or demonstrate irreparable harm, basic standards for such relief. Despite the initial coverage, the case's shortcomings received little media attention. According to the website One Law, millions of lawsuits are filed in this country every year. Many of them are without merit. And CAIR is on TV hundreds and hundreds of times a year, and they are almost never newsworthy. Having TV stations announce the filing of a meritless lawsuit is one of the ways the public is reminded that there actually is such a thing as the Council on American Islamic Relations.